When you are ready, Susan.
Salutations, Ginger League, and welcome to Super Geeked. We're here. We're here. We discuss the latest news on all things super. Now, I'm your host, Susan Sutton, and joining me this week, as always, are Andrew Downing and Kevin Tierney. Unfortunately, Rosie can't be with us this week, but she will be back soon, I hope. Obviously, I missed out on something great last week. However, I was slumming it on this beautiful beach in Cos. Not just on the beach, I was on a boat, going over these blue seas, and the resort where I was staying, I had my own swimming pool. But anyway, we won't go into that because you'll be bored.
Yeah, I think
Hi guys.
you're just getting all your normie talk out of the way before you have to dive back into this madness, aren't you? It's like, yeah, I was on
Yeah.
holiday and I had my own boat and my own swimming
Yeah,
pool.
I don't talk like that. Don't.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's good.
So,
It's good.
I was
Go,
going to say,
Susan.
gentle dogs, how are you? Did you miss me?
It's good to have you back, Susan.
As
Yes, indeed, we really needed someone to keep us in line.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was quite weird. Like when Rosie came on, like she stepped in for a week as a guest host again. Rosie, thank you. It was the one day that me and Kev both didn't say that we were tired
that's right.
because we went, aye, all right, not tired. No,
Mm.
Me neither. And I've reversed that trend today because I'm completely fucked. I am so tired. Oh man. Well, you know yourself, Susan. It's been busy.
Mhm.
Been very busy.
Yeah, it's been a mental couple of days. It really has,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a very emotional couple of days as well for various reasons that we won't go into.
Yeah.
But anyway, shall we crack on?
Def
Let's get the good
Yep.
humor going.
yeah,
So
definitely.
anyway, like people believe that it's toxic Zack Snyder fans that are ruining DC's chances of working towards a proper DCEU. Now, do you think it's fans or the inside workings of the Warner Brothers Discovery that is the problem?
Kev, you are I always say that you're more the DC side of it than what, and I am more the Marvel side. So I will let you answer this question first, my friend.
I don't know. I think it's a wee bit of both.
You don't
I
know.
think,
You sourced the questions.
yeah, I sourced the questions. Doesn't mean to say I have all the answers. If I had all the answers, I would solve DC's problems.
I think we have put those rights to bed a few times since all this has kicked off. But no, thanks again for looking up the topics for tonight's discussion, Kev. I appreciate it.
That's fine. I think there's too many people that are saying, "Oh, Zack Snyder needs to come in and do this. Zack Snyder needs to come in and do that." It's like, well, he did. He came in and he done it, and Warner Brothers like, it's no for us. And despite what people think, that's the route they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It might feel like it's the wrong route to a lot of people because what Zack Snyder was doing was building up a universe for DC. He was doing it really well. He wasn't just throwing it all together like what it seems to be they're doing just now and just throwing as much as they can over the next couple of years. But it's at the end of the day, it's down to the executives at Warner Brothers.
Do you think it's again a case of these big companies just thinking that they know best and not listening to the fans being the most important people in anything, because without the fans, without people going to the cinema, buying the comics and all the merch, everything else, what would they have?
They would have nothing. Yeah.
I am like I've been trying to hold back on something that but I'm just gonna have to say it. The fans didn't like Zack Snyder stuff. Well, at the start, they hated Man of Steel. They thought
did.
Batman v Superman was the most boring piece of shit in the cinema. I went to see it twice. I fell asleep once. It was because it was conceptually, tonally dark. It was literal like nighttime. I was like snoring. Like they were piling on it. They were absolutely hating it. They were hating the way that they took Superman like, in the direction, because he wasn't the whole Christopher Reeve's joy and hope. He was like, he straight up breaks a guy's neck. What in the first one, and that's not something that Superman does. Like they all went off at that, and then it was and even when they were doing the Justice League to start with, the DC fans were not happy about it. They were not happy with how they were shoehorning in all the Justice League with wee cameos and Batman v Superman, and then what? And then they were like, well, "Hey, we got Wonder Woman. Hey, the only thing they've actually got right in this whole fucking thing is Wonder Woman." Well, and then I was starting. Then I had the whole issue with Zack Snyder, and sadly he had to step away because his daughter committed suicide, which was horrible. And it was horrible because she committed suicide because of the trolling that her dad was getting from those supposed DC fans. Who, once Joss Whedon took over and did Justice League, because it was the biggest clusterfuck I had ever seen, they all were rallying for the Snyder Cut, and then all of a sudden he's like the second coming of Jesus. And I'm like, yous are the ones that caused this. Yous are the ones that broke that poor man. So quite frankly, I don't think Zack Snyder would want to come back, and I wouldn't blame him. I'd be like, right, go and do your own thing. Go and do the movies that you know are good. DC destroyed him. So fuck them. Again, I'm sorry for being so blunt, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of hate for that, but the truth hurts sometimes, so cry about it.
See, that's the thing.
Go on.
I was just going to say, with the Zack Snyder films, I enjoyed them. I liked them. Man of Steel was great because he was going to take their version of the Justice League. He was going to make it darker because the Avengers was all light and happy for the majority of it. And he's like, well, I'm going to do DC dark because DC in the comics is fairly dark. So he's like, well, I'll do that. And then I had to leave because the fans didn't like it. But this is comic sourced. It's from the source. This has happened in comics. They've done this, they've done that. And they hated on him and caused no amount of hassle. And if he doesn't come back, fair play to him, because after what Warner Brothers done to him, they basically said, yeah, we'll get somebody in just to finish editing, and then they bring in Joss Whedon, who comes in and just completely devastates the entire thing.
He tried to Marvel it.
He did,
but that wasn't the style they were going for, and because it was such a tonal shift, people were like, what?
Yeah.
And then, ironically, all the allegations come out against Joss Whedon, and it's like, now he is more ostracized than Zack Snyder, which is a great little twist of fate, I think.
It's amazing what social media can do to people. It can either raise you up or it can literally destroy you. And to hear that about Zack's daughter, that's just devastating.
Yeah, that was the thing that really got me.
It's people that are behind a screen that wouldn't dare say things to people's faces. And a lot of people, from my perspective, who watch, things about superheroes, fantasy, sci-fi, it's escapism. And more often than not, it's because they have difficulties within their own lives. So for those same people to go online and destroy others, all I can say is absolute, complete and utter fucking shame on them. And if any of those types of people are watching this, just try and look inside yourself before you start gobbing off to or about other people. If there's something that you wouldn't say to a person's face, keep it to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like what I was saying last week about the She-Hulk and the Miss Marvel. It's like hate for the sake of hate.
Yeah.
There's like no reasoning behind it. It's just, somebody else doesn't like that and they've said this. Well, I'll come in and say, that this sucks arse because it's a woman that's in it. Well, fuck off then. Don't watch it.
Yep. It's horrible. And it is such a slap in the face, because like guys like us, we got into comics because we did have problems in our own lives. Like I was getting bullied constantly. It was like my way of escaping. And what Kev, like you, obviously you had your own issues as well, and that's kind of how you fell into it. So it's like they're going for this whole bullied becomes bullies mentality, and I'm like, just get to, like, I could walk up to you and go, right, you got a problem, and they wouldn't say bugger all to me. And it's just a case of, yeah. And if quite frankly, if there is anybody that has that mindset that does watch this, then I would gladly just be like, switch it off and find something else, because you're not going to be accepted here.
Yeah.
But bullies are weak.
100%.
They are weak.
Let's
anyway,
let's move on.
Let's move on to the next thing. Jessica Jones' role in Daredevil is to be lessened. Is it because she's a woman? Due to scheduled conflict, and the Punisher is to be given a larger role. Now, does this help cement the fact of all Netflix show characters will eventually show up, even if the shows are not canon?
The thing about, like, her being, like, her screen time being reduced, isn't, thankfully it's not down to being a woman like this time. Well, it's the fact that she's got, like, quite a lot of scheduling conflicts, because she is a very, very talented actress. Like, she kind of broke out when Breaking Bad was on, I believe, in the second series. She was fantastic. What in that role, what really good, and then got the role of Jessica Jones, and it just seemed to, she gave it that bit of new life to a character that a lot of people didn't really know about. What, in fairness, like, if it was me, I would be like, okay, you've got scheduling conflicts, let's try and work around it to get you in for more for the scenes, because she's that good. Getting more Punisher is always a good thing, but, well, it's a good thing if they were going down the traditional Netflix route that they were going down, and it doesn't look like they are now. It looks like it's going to be the very cookie cutter 12A Disney side of it. And I understand, money talks, bullshit walks, but yeah, that's what I'm full of the fear now. What I'm like, oh no, what, they're just going to go multiverse route. It's going to be all sunshine and farts, and it's just going to be just awful. Great actors, but the characters are going to get bastardized.
Yeah, the thing is, they've shown that they can do darker things. I mean, with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, that was a lot darker than a few of the other films.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, they got Sam Raimi in to do that, and he knows his horror.
Yeah.
So they could easily get somebody in that could keep it sort of a 12A, pushing on to 15, and it could still fit in with everything else.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole, it's not a reboot, but it's just multiverse. It's like, you don't need to do that. You could have just kept things that have happened. You could have kept them. Say this Daredevil is a new series, but don't go and take away everything that the character's done before.
Yeah.
There's no need for that.
I mean, I'll keep just beating this like a dead horse constantly, but the ones they're bringing back are the ones that I don't think fit into this universe, and they're not bringing back the one like Iron Fist, who I think is the best fit for this universe. Again, probably because they're scared of the fanboy hate, because they didn't like it. Now, I was one of the few that was like, I don't mind Iron Fist when it was part of the Netflix canon.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't as like dark as the other ones. There was a bit. It was a bit more campy-esque. But you don't get your powers of a magical fist from punching a dragon if it's going to be all, whoa, it's really gritty. Yeah. It's not Game of Thrones, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So that type of thing fits in this universe, because that's what they've established. They've established, like what Asgard, they've established like witchery, sorcery, and all that kind of stuff. So that fits. So I'm like, it's so baffling to me that they're going to bastardize and dilute all the good stuff, and the stuff that they could really thrive with, and it's got potential, that just seems to be sitting. And I'm like, dudes, get your heads out your asses.
I know. And they hadn't even said if Luke Cage is coming back.
Yep. That's something that's been getting to me as well. I was like, yeah, sure, you're not bringing back the black guy.
Yeah.
Don't do a DC. Do not do a DC.
And the thing about Luke Cage was Mike Coulter played him to a T.
He was fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. He's such a phenomenal actor as well. And just, I mean, you don't star in a show that has the guy who's going to be Blade now in the MCU, Mahershala Ali. If I butchered his name, I apologize. Viola Davis as well, I believe.
Yeah, she was in it.
Really established actors, like if we from our Raw TV's watching, like Theo Ortiz from Sons of Anarchy was in it as well, and he was fantastic. He was such great, diverse actors. Real highlight of that kind of like Joe, and it's just like again left to the side. I'm like, what are we a joke to you? What the hell?
I know.
I know it sounds like I'm just piling on, but I'm just like, I want to see fairness across the board. It's something that really, I don't want to see more white guys that with the name Chris that have 6-packs and 12-packs. And then they go, oh, She-Hulk can't twerk, but it was all right to see Thor's butt. Get over it.
Yeah.
Let's move on now to Invincible Season 2. Done Season 3. I'll start that again.
It's okay.
Invincible Season 2, the done Season 3 is already in production. Now, what are your thoughts on Season 1, and when do you think Season 2 is coming?
Sadly, I have to hold my hands up. I did not see Season 1 because I don't have Amazon Prime. But if someone could give me a free Amazon Prime, so we can carry on with this shit, please do. We need money. I've had to pay Susan and Fredo's, as we were discussing. Well, before we came on, so we need this
I'm not
money.
even getting paid. I'm here out of the goodness of my heart.
You got the Fredos before the promos, don't you? Don't you start,
did.
buddy? You
Listen,
did.
it's on video. It was about. It was before I went on holiday.
Did she mention she was on holiday? I don't think she did.
No, I can't remember if she did or not.
Nah. Yeah, and we got the
Stop
caramel
it.
Fred. Yeah, we got the caramel Fredos as well. What? So there we go. What?
Yep.
Spoiler
But anyway,
alert.
carry on.
They cost the same, but still. But yeah, I've not seen it, so Kev, the floor's yours on this one. I've heard good things, but don't have more than inside scoop.
It's been great. We've been waiting for like near enough a year and a half. Obviously things slowed down with COVID and that, and they were really getting pushed back with the recordings because we can't do this, can't do that, we can't do people recording it and then sending it to us because the servers are going down, and it took them so long to get everyone actually back into a studio to finish recording Season 2, and then they're like, right, well, we're just going to start, we've got the script for Season 3, we'll just start. So they finished it. 2 weeks later, they started with the voiceovers for Season 3. It's a fantastic cast, and it is. People have complained, it's like, oh, it's a bit different from the comics. Like, well, of course it's going to be a bit different. They're not going to take everything from the comic and do it, right, that's page 1, this is what we do, that's page... Yeah. They're not going to do that. It's a separate media.
Like, have they even seen The Boys? The Boys is what they look at one of the breakout characters, what Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles of Supernatural fame. He was fantastic in that because I used to watch that all the time. They've totally changed his character from what it was in the comics, and people love it. So a bit of change can be good. Don't get me wrong; it can also be a bit of a risk in the superhero genre. I freely admit. But
it can be.
But if there's places where you can actually experiment with that more, is in like cartoon animation style.
Yep.
Because you've got more of a bit more of leeway. Multiverse stuff I think works better if it's in like an animation style rather than live action. So even if they wanted to BS it and it didn't go well and just went, okay, multiverse, on you go.
And the thing is, Invincible opens itself up to multiverse because one of the main villains actually opens up a multiverse and brings in all the different characters, different versions of characters, and that's what they're going to be doing with Season 2, is bringing in this person. But I don't know if they're going to be bringing him in as like the big bad for Season 2 and just introduce him and then have him in Series 3, which can continue into Series 4. But I'm hoping for good things, and I'm hoping to hear soon about when Season 2 is starting. because I really enjoyed season 1.
J.K. Simmons is in it, isn't he?
He is, yep.
I thought so. What?
And Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead, he's the main character.
Yeah.
See, that sounds kind of interesting if they're bringing in, a character, and if they just brought them in a small way, then obviously it's going to, whet people's appetites to encourage them to go for the next season, as you say, the season after that, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and
That's
also
a good way of doing it.
Because it's not Marvel or DC as well, it's a separate kind of superhero entity. More people are drawn to them because they're more likely to parody the more mainstream stuff. That's why people like The Boys, because you're basically taking what's essentially the Justice League and saying, right, they're all douche nozzles. It's like Homelander is basically like a Superman Nazi kind of thing. We've got like an Aqua man person who basically, instead of talks to fish, I'm pretty sure he fucks them.
Couple of times,
yeah. And then we've got like a Flash,
dolphins as well, and octopus.
Yeah, basically anything that's underwater. And then they've got a Flash character that can actually literally run through people and disintegrate them. So it's what they like is it's more of like, this is what's wrong with all the superheroes. What if they were all actually a corporate machine? And just make movies for the sake of making movies because they can, or leave a bunch of people on a plane to die because, well, they caused it and they don't want any bad publicity.
Andrew, can you say that word again, please?
What one? Dish nozzle.
That's the one. I like that.
Yeah. It was one thing I got told when I submitted the script years ago. They said the script itself was utter dog meat, like it was horrible. But they said I had a great use of offensive vocabulary, which meant I could come up with great swear analogies. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm from Airdrie. We know how to swear.
It's all you do.
Fuck off.
You'll be getting your non-Scottish followers getting out the map now or Googling Airdrie. So for anybody that wants to know, that's AIRDRIE.
Yes, indeed. I like your R went a bit Irish there. A bit R.
Did it? I thought it was a wee bit Scottish, but R.
I went a bit R, which is quite ironic because the Queen. Well, at the time this recording, we've just had the Queen's funeral, and that was actually on National Pirate Day.
Yep.
Right.
So there we go. Some great tie-ins there.
Well, that was quite handy with the Navy pulling the coffin, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. So with all the announcements from Marvel and DC, do we need some more non-Marvel DC superheroes? Oh boy, I'm having trouble with my words today.
It's because you're just back from holiday. Did we mention that?
Oh yeah, I was on holiday. Yeah. But yeah, superheroes.
Greek for 2 weeks.
No, I was away for a week.
Yeah, but you came back and still spoke it for another week.
Yeah, okay. And nobody noticed that I had a tan just because I'm ginger. They said, "Oh, you got a lot more freckles." I said, "No, that's a tan."
Well, in fairness, in my case, I couldn't walk up to you and be like, "Yeah, right, let's check and show me your white bits." I just had to walk up and go, "Here's my arm. Have a look."
I know. We stood next to each other yesterday comparing arms, and mine was definitely tanned.
That's why so many people stand next to me.
So I'll go back to that question. With all the announcements from Marvel and DC, do we need some more non-Marvel DC superheroes? And if so, who?
Well, one thing I would actually like to ask you, Susan, it's tying into it, slightly. If you had the choice of like any other kind of genre to get highlighted a bit more rather than the superhero genre, which genre do you think would be the one that you think could either rival it or maybe take over it? Ooh. So like horror, western, comedy, whatever.
Well, we certainly don't have westerns now, do we? I mean, we might have a sort of cowboy themed film, but not much. I mean, it'd be interesting to see like a modern day Western based on what the real Westerns used to be. I think as a kid, I used to watch Westerns, John Wayne and all that, because he was a real man.
Yeah.
Horror. I mean, I do love horror. I will watch horror. I will watch supernatural stuff. I'd like to see a lot more supernatural stuff, but nothing that's way over the top. I was watching The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, again the other night. And of course, with all CGI and everything that you've got nowadays, and special effects, it's good, but to me, you can't beat the originals. But I don't know if there's anything that could raise its popularity enough to take over the superhero stuff. That's a toughie.
It's an interesting question,
Yeah.
because what I mean, we can discuss like what the other we've already discussed some of the other options that could potentially replace it in the superhero text. Like we've talked about Invincible, we've talked about like The Boys, we've mentioned Dread before. So we've had like these kind of similar conversations and answered them. I just wanted like from the normal person's perspective, because we're in superhero fatigue. Let's just face it. It's great for us for content that we're getting more of it, but it's also bad for general audiences. I mean, look at the Cineworld that's had to shut down because people aren't going to anymore because there's no movies that people want to see.
I think admission prices could have an awful lot to do with that.
Oh yeah,
as well as obviously streaming.
Not denying that as well, and having the whole thing with COVID happening and everybody's scared to kind of go back into that environment. I do get it, but at the same time, what people would want to come back if there was decent stuff on. It does. I mean, I'm a superhero fan, freely admit it, but as a saturation, I mean, one thing I've been missing is original science fiction. Well, I'm a big sci-fi and fantasy fan. I was a fan of like Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars. If it had Star in it, I was good. But like they've done like a wee kind of resurgence of Star Trek stuff. Lord of the Rings has come back. We've now got the next Game of Thrones thing, the House of Dragon. And it's just like there doesn't seem to be anything original coming out of that sphere either. It seems to be everything that's based on a book or a prequel or a sequel or a reboot, and you're like, give us something. Can nobody think of anything original? But I'm sure they can, but nobody's gonna give them the fucking money because it's not an IP.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm hoping to get funding for my own film, which is something that's completely different, and I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Yeah,
but
I'm hoping to one day get funding for my series, which I can't talk about right now because no fucker's interested.
Yeah, and try and get money from certain big organisations within Scotland who should be supporting Scottish filmmaking and Scottish productions, podcasts. I mean, if I speak okay, yeah, and perhaps if I drink down Ashton Lane and I live in the West End, and perhaps if I went to university, I may stand an awfully good chance of getting some funding.
Can you talk about that after this podcast ends? Everybody knows we just banter. It's all good.
We do. But Kev, what do you think? I mean, who would you have? What would you have? Film wise, what would you like to see?
Well,
might overtake it.
There was an old superhero thing that was out a while ago in the early 90s called Guyver, with a certain Mark Hamill, as the star, and that was so underrated.
Guyver, did you say, or MacGyver?
No, just Guyver.
No, MacGyver is Richard Dean Anderson making things out of paper clips.
Yeah.
And also the Spawn film.
Spawn was yes, the CGI is utter dog meat now. It's horrible, but the actual
film itself,
concept, it's brilliant.
I actually went and watched that about 2 weeks ago, and it's like the
Mhm.
story is fantastic.
A very underrated Martin Sheen performance as well in there as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he just
So
looks so weird though, like with the beard. I don't know what it is because you're so used to seeing him clean shaven, him having a beard. It's like, whoa, this is odd.
yeah, and there's also Darkman. The original one was Liam Neeson. And he never come back for the sequels, but they were really good. All three of them were really good. And
Yeah.
there's not enough of like the other superhero things. Everybody just piles on Marvel and DC because they're just getting rammed down as. But there's all these other ones. Yep. There's all these other ones that are open right now that could easily fit in with what's going on just now. And nobody wants to pick it up because it's not Marvel or DC.
Yeah. Well, that actually brings me to a wee question that we never really got to ask about the last time or get talking what Major talking about the Sylvester Stallone kind of Superman-esque superhero film that came out, which isn't Marvel or DC. No one knew it was coming out really. And it got a lot of positive praise. Stallone still brings it. We'd like to see something like that. And again, remember when Brightburn came out as well? Yes, it's like alternate reality of what happened if Superman was a teenager and was going on a massive killing spree, but it had the horror elements to it. It was more of a horror.
Yeah,
and it worked.
That was really good.
And it worked really well. I think there's a sequel in that needs to be made like when he gets into his 20s and he's like, okay, I'm going to just totally destroy all you gets.
Yeah.
Just want to see something like that.
Well, that's what The Boys is for.
That's true. That's just whetting their appetites until that happens.
Do you think that anyone from Marvel or DC might actually tune in to any of the podcasts and
if they do, I am so
anything?
dead. They do, I am so dead. That's why I'm trying to build my monopoly before they get me, and then I can be like, right, game on, motherfuckers. I own YouTube. If only.
I mean, you never know. You just do not know who clicks onto YouTube and then follows a link to a link to a link and ends up in a really dark place. We've all done it, and I've come across stuff that I would never even think of looking for. So, I mean, obviously it's the use of hashtags and things like that. And if you hashtag DC or some superhero,
well, DC,
you don't know.
in fairness, they retweet a lot of our stuff. Well, because that's why we're like, right, DC, keep fucking up, because then we can talk about it, we can tag you, and then the DC like fan forums like retweet our stuff. The Marvel ones don't bother, and we're like, interesting. They live in the bad publicity is good publicity thing, and Marvel are just like no publicity.
Marvel have already hacked us. They know what we're going to be saying anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that's what the whispering was weeks ago. That's what the clicking and the breathing was. That was Marvel. It has to be.
That makes sense, actually. I still have thoughts about that heavy breathing.
Yeah, that was Feige or Mickey Mouse. I'm guaranteeing it.
Oh, it was Mickey, definitely.
Oh yeah, Mickey.
Was it?
Yeah, he's just like he's there. He's there in the background.
Yep.
Right, Mickey. Oh, I'm going to take down your channel. Oh, this is not copyright infringement at all because it's a Jinker guy. Oh. Welcome back,
right,
Susan.
Enough now. Anyway, guys, that's it. We've come to the end of the show. He's super. Now I've got my screen in a narrow way.
Yep, don't worry.
Super.
That's fine.
He's Ginger. And I've been your host, Susan Sutton. Tune in again next week, and thanks for listening to us today.